Thank you so much. Well, it's my joy for the very last time this conference to share with you. And I want to finish off by just encouraging you with a few final thoughts and hopefully tie some of our ideas together and just as a community encourage you. Some of the things we've said over the weekend you may feel very much have applied to you personally, and if that has, I'm thrilled and I'm excited about that. But also, the big subtext really of my weekend is I hope that something we're saying together helps us to think together about change. So there will be change that you and I have to negotiate as individuals. Pastor Dave has an electric car. I mean, that's a change, right? And that change is coming for us all. We were just talking about what the future might hold. And, will we be able to get on planes in the next 10 years and fly somewhere? Will the world have changed so much that actually the car that I'm driving will be obsolete? And there's Pastor David, 77? Okay. 70-ish. Driving an electric. Who else has an electric car here? Look at that. The man's a pioneer. He's pioneering a change in our world. It's remarkable. Now, all of us as individuals are undergoing levels of change. But in this final little session, I just want to appeal to you as a community. That in the next few months, and not just at the moment of the handover in June, which Dave has already alluded to, but for a few months after that, and even beyond that, as a community, we're going to have to negotiate change together. And if we can do this together, we've got a great chance of succeeding. Yes. And what the enemy wants to do in our world is fracture that journey and get us splintering off in different directions, sometimes even for legitimate reasons and things we're passionate about. But what it ends up doing is hurting the very thing that we want to achieve together. And many people in this room have made a significant journey on behalf of this church. And I know there are people missing who would be part of this community. And it's very, very exciting. Next week, you've got a baptism service. Yep. 3 people being, this man here with a Newcastle shirt on. Come on. He may even get baptized in that Newcastle shirt. You never know. Maybe God will bring some redemption to the tombs. I don't know what will happen there. But that could go on next week. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. So at a moment when you're thinking about change, at a moment when you're thinking about moving from what has been into what will be, we've got these wonderful moments of celebration where we're celebrating 3 people who've made a decision to follow Jesus in the context of this fellowship and who want to go on. And that's the stuff that must excite us. That's the stuff we've got to keep focused on when those edgy moments of change come. Yeah. If you focus on the change, we won't do it. But if we focus on the possibilities, we can do it. We can negotiate this together. It's not easy and it won't be easy, but it is doable and it is possible. And so tonight, I want to leave you with a few thoughts from an unusual passage of the Bible. It's Genesis chapter 11, so we'll jump from Isaiah. We're just going to read from Genesis chapter 11. Now let me set you the context. We've had up to this point the story of the fall where sin came into the world, and then the world sort of became a pretty nasty place. God raises up a man called Noah. Noah builds this incredible ark with his family. They are rescued and saved, and it's like God hits the reset button and starts again. But in the midst of that, as humanity begins to grow, they start to stray away from God again. And we've got a moment in Genesis 11 where it typifies that sort of departure from the purposes of God, but in a weird way also shows us principles of success that God built into humanity. So this is a really strange story that on one hand is sort of showing us stuff we shouldn't do, but at the same time shows us principles that God has given. It's a bit of a contradiction. But I'll explain as we go along, and hopefully it will help you. So Genesis chapter 11, verse 1, and it says this: Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As men moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and beat them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves and not be scattered over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the men were building. The Lord said, and listen to these words, incredible words, "If as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down," this is God now speaking, "come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other." So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why the place is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. Now, in my whole journey as a Christian, every time I've ever heard that passage preached on, it's always been from a negative viewpoint. And probably rightly so. And what we've picked up on is, here's a bunch of people building something for the wrong reason. They want to make a name for themselves, and it seems to be, by implication, they're sort of pushing back against God. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So when you read that passage, you get a sense of that. And so I do not in any way want to ignore that idea. But what I do want us to pick up on is the fact that God is so impressed by what they're doing that he has to come down and break it up.
Yeah.
So when God has to come down and break something up, I'm asking, what was it that they were doing that so impressed God that he felt he had to mess with it? He felt he had to break it up. Now that's the bit I want to do. So I'm not ignoring the bad bits of this, all right? So don't come at me afterwards and beat me up over that. I'm not ignoring the obvious idea that they were building a city for themselves. But what I am trying to draw on is that they were building a city in such an impressive way that God had to intervene. Now I'm going to say something, and I hope you're not offended by this. I think Genesis 11 teaches us that God became a sort of a victim of his own success. So in other words, he put principles into humanity, principles of agreement, principles of togetherness, principles of vision, principles where if men and women will work together as one, incredible things can be achieved. And God designed us like that. In fact, if you look at the Garden of Eden, before sin came into the world, it's exactly what God is designing. He's designing humans like him. And how does God work? God works in agreement. God works together. In fact, even in the passage we read, it says, "Let us go down."
Yep.
It's like the community of the Godhead is going down together to sort this thing out. So humans, in our image, we reflect this togetherness of God. And when we get it together, we are, according to God's words, unstoppable.
Yes. Amen.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we don't want to build a city for ourselves. We want to build something for him,
Yes.
right?
Amen.
So imagine, here's a group of humans building without God, and they're being successful. So here's the question. Imagine what we could do if we're building for God
Yes. Yeah.
and with God.
Yes.
Imagine that. And that's what the idea I want to leave you with in the context of our study together. A lady called Helen Keller. I don't know if some of you may have heard of Helen Keller. If you've never heard of her, maybe some of the younger people in the room, Google Helen Keller. What a woman. An amazing person. And she was born with incredible disadvantage and disability, both blind and deaf, and yet she became an author, a poet, a communicator, an influencer, and an inspiration to a whole generation. And continues to do that. A remarkable, remarkable, remarkable woman. She is worth a Google. Okay? She is worth a Google if you have never heard of her. She was asked the question, remember she's blind, she was asked the question, communicated the question to her, is there anything worse than being blind? And here's her answer. She said this, yes, having sight without vision. Merciful. Is there anything worse than being blind? Yes, he said, having sight without vision. And this weekend, although it has been about change, at the heart of the idea of change we want to talk about hasn't been just change for change's sake. Would you agree with me? We've tried to stay away from that idea. We're not just into change because it's a cool thing to do, or because we're bored, right? We've been talking about change in the context, constantly, of what God wants to do. Here, sing, O barren woman, God says to her. Why? Because more are your children than the children of the woman who has a husband. Your descendants will dispossess cities and nations, and you'll inhabit them. So God wants to inspire this woman with a vision in Isaiah 54, and that inspires the changes that she has to make. And if we can really grasp the opportunity that's before us in terms of vision, that will help us to make the changes. As a community now, so I'm speaking to you now. I know we may have some visitors from other churches, so please forgive me. You can apply this to your church. But if you're part of Living Waters Church, in the journey that we are on with, that Dave described just a few minutes ago, then we are thinking about changes we're going to be called upon to make, not for change's sake, but because of the vision that we have and the vision that God has given this place. And we want to see a continuation of the journey into that vision. So it's maybe worthwhile asking the question, what is vision? We've talked about vision in regard to the woman, where God painted a picture of a different future. Future she never dreamed possible. That she would have millions of babies, and those babies would dispossess nations and inhabit cities and rebuild them. That's a vision that God put into her that's beyond her. And so, inspired by something she saw, she's being encouraged to make these changes. What is vision? What is vision? Vision can be described in many different ways, but perhaps a picture we have. Dawn and I went to Berlin for our wedding anniversary. What a remarkable city Berlin is. Germany is a quite remarkable country in so many ways. And we went to Berlin, which of course, for people of a certain age in this room, you will understand that city sat at the heart of the Cold War for years and years, literally represented the Cold War. A city was divided right down the middle by a wall. West Berlin and East Berlin. It literally embodied the Cold War. And you can go to Germany today and see some incredible stuff. But in Berlin, it's really worth a visit because of the history that has shaped modern Europe in the most remarkable way. And we went to visit different parts of what was the Berlin Wall. And in one of the presentations that we saw, this picture was there. So this is a moment before the wall comes down. So the wall now doesn't exist. The Berlin Wall does not exist. Just markers in the ground that show you where it was. It's incredible, really. And I love this picture. I was so inspired by this picture. Do you know why I was inspired by this picture? Do you want to know why? Ask me why. Why? Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, the reason I was inspired by this picture is because I want to know what he sees. That was the first thing that came into my mind. What's he seeing? What? Something he's not seen before. Absolutely. What's he seeing? Now, if I was in the crowd when that picture was being taken, there would be two things going on in me. I would either be shouting at him and saying, "Tell me what you see," or I would be saying, "Get down so that I can get up and I can come."
Why not?
Because there's something within me looks at that and goes, what is over that wall? Now, in days gone by, that young man could have had his head shot off for putting a letter against that wall and looking over it. But here he is, an incredible, I don't know who he is, but a moment captured in time, a brilliant moment that says to me, what do you see? Tell us. Or better still, let me have a look. Let me have a look. And that picture is the heart of God for this church. God sees things. And he's desperate for you to say, what do you see? What do you see? God, what do you see? for Living Waters Church. He's desperate for me and you to go, can I climb up the ladder and have a look? Now, I know it's hard when you see a picture like that and hear a sermon like this, and we're just trying to survive, right? We're just trying to pay our rent every month, and just trying to pay our mortgages, and just trying to get through. There's the mundane things of life. It's hard sometimes to be inspired by a conversation that says to a Christian community, God sees something that's bigger than this community, bigger than you, bigger than me, bigger than all our money in the bank together, bigger than our resources, bigger than our dreams even. He sees something beyond that. And he's desperate for a church that will say, God, what do you see? What do you see? Let me see what you see. Could we now, of course, that's a dangerous conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and you've got to remember this. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
All right, you can ignore it. You can try and bury it, but you can't unsee it. Once you see it, you can't. He is changed forever.
Yes.
Curiosity may have taken him to the top of that ladder, but he would get down a different manner. Because he's seen something that, as been said, he's never seen before. Or he's seeing, potentially, the future. Or he's seeing something that means, I've got to get down from this wall and change.
Yeah.
We need to get this wall down.
Yeah.
We need some hammers. Let's get rid of this wall, because what I've seen is amazing. Right? That's what God's looking for. That's what he wants to inspire every one of us with. And me and you, we just get trapped in the ordinary everydayness of our lives. And why not? That's where we live. I get it. But we have a God who's constantly trying to get us up a ladder. Who wants to go up the ladder? Come on. Who wants to get up the ladder? And just have a squint.
You really?
I wonder what's over the wall. My goodness. But it's a dangerous ladder, and it's a dangerous conversation. Because if you open your heart up to the possibility of seeing what he sees, you cannot unsee it. And it will change you. For the better or even for the worse. Because if we see it and embrace it, I think we change for the better. I think if we see it and reject it, I think life goes south really quickly. Do you understand? You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. And so vision is seeing beyond. That's all I want to leave you with, all right? In terms of the definition of vision, seeing beyond. We can get desperately technical about what vision is, but vision is I'm seeing beyond where I am. See something over that wall that I've never seen before. And in our passage, we see their vision. They had a vision to build something brand new. Now, for us, we're used to the idea of cities. But in this moment in world history, cities were still a developing idea. Okay? The world was essentially rural in the way. In fact, it's not really until the turn of the 20th century that we've gone from rural-based communities to industrial communities or urban communities. The 20th and 21st century has seen a massive shift from rural to urban. But most of the world lived rural, even in this world. So the idea of all living together in one big place and building a big city to keep us all together is an unusual idea. But they have a vision to do it. Let's build a city for ourselves. That is their vision. And I want you to notice a number of things it produces. And I just want to encourage you with these, hopefully, as we go forward. Their vision created togetherness. All right? It's really, really easy to see in this passage, but it's so powerful. Their vision created togetherness. How do we know? Well, let's look at the language of the text. So Genesis 11, verses 3 to 4. Look at the language. Really easy to miss, but the repetition of the phraseology is showing something powerful happening. Look at this. Let us make. They used brick. let us build, so we may make a name for ourselves. What do you see there? You see togetherness. See, a group of people that are coming together on the basis of this vision and project. They are moving away from the isolation of their own communities, and they're coming together to make something, to build something. And because, perhaps, to use our analogy, they have climbed a ladder together and looked over the wall, and seeing something together, they now are being gelled together by the idea of what they see. What they see is bringing them together. Now, at one level, as a Christian community, we are brought together by Jesus. So Jesus, and if you were here this morning when we broke bread together, we talked about the fact that Jesus is the center of our community, and that he is the unifying factor. So we can be from different backgrounds, different politics, different ideas, different colours and different creeds, and yet we are unified around one single idea of who Jesus is. Amen?
Yeah.
So we believe he's the Savior. We believe he is the Son of God. So there's a sense in which the Christian community is unified around that idea. But as a community together trying to reach our world, we can also be unified around a vision of what reaching our world looks like. And if we get that together, something amazing can change. As I probably mentioned over the weekend, I'm a Liverpool supporter. I'll mention this for the very last time. I'm a Liverpool supporter. And I've supported Liverpool since 1974. Okay? And I remember, I'm really sorry about this. My friend is not going to forgive me for this next comment, but I hope he does before he gets baptized. Right? So this is important. I started supporting Liverpool in the 1974 FA Cup final. Do you remember who they played? Who did they play? Yes, that's it. They played Newcastle. Malcolm MacDonald, in fact, was the superstar centre-forward for Newcastle at the time. And he was expected to give the Liverpool back for a bit of a do-over. And he made a few probably unnecessary and unhelpful boasts before the FA Cup final. And Liverpool, it has to be said, did Newcastle over quite badly. Okay, and beat Newcastle 3-0. In fact, Newcastle that day didn't have a single shot on goal. Right. Liverpool, yeah, check it on YouTube. It's all there. Now that day I became a Liverpool. I fell in love with the Reds. And in fact, I have a 1974 FA Cup replica shirt at home. With a number 7 on the back. Who was number 7? Kevin Keegan, very good. There we are. Come on. It's coming back to you. The anointing's falling on the building. Come on, man. In a moment, we'll lift our hands and say, and you'll never walk alone. I can feel it building in the room. Now, here's the thing. It's now 2020, and I've supported Liverpool since 1974. In that period, we've had 10 different managers. Some of them good. One or two of them not too good. Jurgen, I love Jurgen. We love Jurgen. I love Jurgen so much I've named my car after Jurgen. It's true. Jurgen Klopp is our current manager. Love him. We all love him. He's a legend already without winning the league at Anfield. Now here's the thing. Since 1974 we've had 10 managers. But I haven't supported Liverpool because of who's the manager. Yeah. I've supported Liverpool because of the dream. It's at the heart of the team. Because of the sense of commitment to the team, not to the manager. Yes. And I've seen Liverpool under some of the greatest managers they've ever seen, and I've seen them under a couple of managers that almost destroyed the club. And I've never wavered in my commitment to them. Because I'm not supporting Liverpool for the manager. I'm supporting them because of the vision, the dream, the passion we have to be the best team in the country or the best team in the world. Are you with me?
Yeah.
In June, the manager will change.
Right.
Now listen to me carefully what we're about to say, and don't be offended. If you leave this house because the manager changes, then you weren't really committed to the dream. You were committed to the person.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I understand people would want to leave because Pastor D is no longer the I get that. We talked yesterday about emotion and about the power of emotion, and I totally understand that. But if we're wobbling because the manager's changing, then here's what we need some help with. We need to see the dream.
Yes.
The dream is bigger than the current manager.
Right.
Come on. Are you with me?
Yeah.
It's got to be bigger than, or else Living Waters Church has a very short future.
Yeah.
Liverpool has no future. Newcastle United has no future. If we're just thinking about the managers, we've got to be thinking about beyond that, so that we see. And isn't it interesting? Careful, man. Don't want to say something I get in trouble for. But there's no leader mentioned in this story.
Yeah.
It doesn't say they gathered around a great leader.
Yeah.
Does it? No, it doesn't. It says they gathered round a dream.
Yeah.
Vision. Now, great leaders help. Don't get me wrong. But communities can build something even if they don't have great leaders. They can build something if they've got a vision strong enough to hold them together.
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yep. Yeah.
Still with me? Yeah. Okay. No. Okay. Well, let's move on. Let's move on. Here's the second thing that vision did. Vision released creativity. A little interesting thing. Denny's in the midst here in this passage. But it says this in our passage, come, let us make bricks. Now the reason that's really interesting is because as far as the biblical record is concerned, so the biblical record, that's an important reference there, this is the first mention of bricks. So if you check the Bible record, up to chapter 11, bricks are not mentioned. There's no reference to bricks, because this is the first time. Which seems to suggest it's the first time, and the biblical record they've been made. Now, they may be made somewhere else in the world, but as far as the Bible's record is concerned, this is the first mention of bricks. So what's happening? The Denny's in the business. Their vision is not only now bringing them together, but their vision is creating room for creativity. Because they know if we're going to build this city together, we're going to have to maybe do things we've never done before. And we may have to do it in a way we've never done it before. And we may need to create things we've never created before in order to make this city happen. Now, for me and you today, bricks are normal.
That's great.
But in Genesis chapter 11, brick was brand new. And so when I say, come let us make a brick, someone would say, what's a brick?
That's right.
Well, let me show you. Here's a brick. Oh, that's a brick. But they did something for the very first time. Do you know what I'm believing for you for, really, honestly? Is for a release of creativity in this place. Because God not only wants to show us what's over the wall, but He wants to inspire something within you. Inspire something within this community. Not just inspire something within Sam and Beth and the team, but inspire something within everybody in this room, from the youngest to the oldest, that something would be inspired, that bricks would be released in this journey.
Right.
Amen?
Yeah.
Because if we're going to build this city together, we're going to need to think about doing things like we've never done them before.
Yeah.
We're going to need to think about ideas we've maybe never engaged with before, or we're maybe even going to think about programs we have never done before. Well, whatever it is, but we want to see creativity released. And it's amazing how often in the scriptures, when men and women respond to God, something amazing gets loose. Something amazing gets created. or done for the very first time. It's incredible. And I said this, and I don't want to be heard as being irreverent in any way. But when God saved the world, he did something for the very first time.
Yeah.
No one had ever seen God in flesh before.
Yes.
That is a brand new, dynamically created moment. In fact, it's so brand new and so amazing that the people Jesus came to just scratched their heads. What? He came to his own, John says, and his own did not recognize him. They looked at this brick and thought, what is that?
Yeah.
It was a God brick. No one had ever seen that brick before. And because they hadn't seen it, some of them struggled to embrace it. But for those who did embrace it, their lives changed forever. He gave them the right to become children of God. Incredible idea. But many stumbled because it was something they'd never seen before. Now, please don't hear what I didn't say there. I'm not reducing the incarnation down to a brick. I'm saying this, that for God to save the world, he had to do something brand new.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, just a thought, man. I'm thinking, if God had to do something brand new, and he's the creator of the universe, maybe me and you will have to be open.
Yes.
Not only to brand new things, but maybe be open to being the catalyst for that brand new thing. Who invented the brick in Genesis 11? What were their names? We don't know. Some bloke, some woman sitting there going, oh, I know what would help us. All these men with their big dreams, and it takes a woman to come up with a brick. There it is. Listen to this. These men running around like headless chickens. I know what to do. Make a brick. It was probably a woman who came up with the idea of the brick. And here we are. But the truth is, we don't know who invented the brick. And that is the point. It wasn't a person that created the brick. It was vision that created it. In this passage. Does that make sense to you? And I want to believe for creativity. Listen, let me encourage you. As we said over this weekend, if you think you can't, you won't. But if you open up your heart and dare to say to God this at the end of this weekend, what do you see? What's over the wall? Or even dare to be a little bit more ambitious. Say, can I climb that ladder and have a look over the wall? For Living Waters Church. And maybe when you look over the wall and see something, maybe, and here I want to prophesy over this week, that the Holy Spirit, as you look over the wall, will create creativity. New songs will arise, new programs will arise, new ideas will arise, bricks will pop out of you. Come on. Bricks will pop out of you. And actually, I think that's what God wants to do. And not just for the superstar preacher who comes along, but for men and women who just want to be part of this. Because no names are mentioned. It's not about individual superstars. It's about community catching vision.
Yeah.
You there?
Yeah.
With me? Here's the third thing, really quickly. Vision generated productivity. How do we know? Look at the language of God. It's quite incredible again. It's easy to miss. It says, but the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the men were building. In other words, the vision had gone from concept to reality. It had gone from set of drawings to bricks, to walls, to doors and windows and rooms. It had developed into something. Now, we're not quite sure what it looked like by the time God got there, and there's been various artists' impression of the Tower of Babel and the city, etc., etc. But it was impressive enough for God to notice.
Yeah.
They built something. It went from concept to reality. It went from an idea to something we do together. And that's usually a sign we know vision has gone from a statement on the website or a passionate appeal from Dave or Sam or Beth or Jude or maybe a visiting preacher like me. It has gone from a statement somewhere to a thing we see for ourselves. We know that happens when it changes what we do. When our behavior changes towards that thing, that's a sign we're seeing something we haven't seen before. Are you with me? So this is one of the dangerous things about vision. It can remain a really cool statement on a website. And if it stays on the website, then it'll never be a city. The only way it will become a city is when men and women see it and then literally get whatever those creative bricks look like and start putting them together and building something. And you know what? And these men know more about building than I ever will. I'm a DIY klutz. But I know this. Great enterprises don't get built quickly. Yeah. It takes time to build something with Colin. Sorry, one more analogy about my house that we've just moved into. But when we went to visit this house that we now live in, we asked a little bit about the history, and one detail in particular lit me up. And it wasn't the dimensions of the house or the community, it was this one fact. This house that you're hopefully about to buy is 19 years old. And it was built by a builder. And he was building it as his forever house. That was the phrase. And I see, when I heard that, I went,
yes, come on.
because I know he won't have rushed the job. I look some of these, honestly, I look some of the modern houses being built, and you walk past the building thing and think, thank God I'm not going to live in there. Because it's like, just rushing things by, there's stuff going on. What is going on here? Stuff in houses to gather people. And you think, they're not building for themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
They're building for a check.
Yes. Well, yeah.
When people build for money, we cut corners.
Yeah.
When people build for vision, we slow down.
Yeah.
Come on, man. There's no rush. Can't rush great buildings.
Right.
And we wanted to last a wee while. And what really inspired me was he built his forever home. Now, tragically and sadly, within 3 years of building that home, he'd end up getting divorced from his wife. And so he ended up selling his forever home. And it was bought by an army major who loved his forever home. And who poured his energy into it. So here I am, about to get something that two people have lavished themselves. Come on.
Yeah.
Who knows that's worth paying a wee bit extra?
Yeah.
Come on. And that's what vision does. I meet a lot of beautiful Christians in here. They want world class on bargain prices. It doesn't happen. Not even in the kingdom of God. Not happening. If we want world class, and please forget that language. That's used different language. If we want the best, if we want to be able to do something for this community that's the best, if we want people to come into this community and feel valued, and feel like Jesus is at the center of this, and Jesus has a purpose and plan for them, that will not be cheap.
That's right.
Yeah.
It can't be cheap. When we go cheap on that, the grace of God is the grace of God, but we cheapen what it looks like. Don't cheapen the grace of God. God's grace can reach us even in a broken down shack of a place. Can't they? God's grace can change our lives even if everything around us is rubbish. We believe that. But that's not his plan. His plan is that his church represents his glory. His church represents greatness. His church represents everything that's about his nature and character, which is generous and good and graceful and glorious and amazing and powerful. And he wants his community to be saying to the world, we believe in this God so much that we're in.
That's right.
We're in. We're in. We've seen over the wall.
Yes.
Literally, I've seen over the wall.
Yes.
I've seen a future that I never dreamed I could have as an individual. I've seen over the wall, and I go, why wouldn't I give my best to this? And when we see it, it moves from concept, statement, idea, to a brick. That somebody else may have created, but now we grab the brick and we put it in the ground. I love Dave, right? I honestly, and I know this weekend's been hard for him because he's done nothing. I know that's been hard because he sees it. Now, I know he's sort of, his role's changing and he's handing over it, all of that. But actually, the fact that he just had to pick the Hoover up today, just to help him get through the day. See, that profoundly encourages me. Because if I was hearing, can't wait to get out of here. If I was hearing, stuff this. If I was hearing, this place is rubbish. And I would be really nervous about the next few months.
Yeah.
But actually, what I am hearing, and I know he said it to Simon, what I'm hearing is a father.
Yes.
I'm hearing an owner.
Yes.
I'm hearing a builder.
Right.
I'm hearing someone, and literally, in the fabric of this building, is this man's DNA. Literally. He's probably literally got blood in some of these walls. When he hammered stuff in with his thumb instead of the nail. There is a literal investment into this. And you are sitting in a place where people have literally seen over the wall and invested themselves into something that's powerful.
Amen.
Now, if we're going to go forward, we need the same sort of mentality.
Yes.
It may look different in 5 years' time. That's okay.
That's right.
It may sound different, but what can't be different is that mentality.
Yes.
Because that mentality is the thing that helps the church to build something, regardless of the dream and regardless of who happens to be leading. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Here's the last idea, and I am done. And you do, thank God, he's done. That's it over. Right. Well, it's not over for you. It's we're building. Here's the last idea, beautifully, that it says this, that vision conquered impossibility. Now look at the language of God. Look at the language of God. If as one people, speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible. Now look at the emphasis that comes in the passage for it. It's very powerful. One people, same language, whatever they plan, nothing will be impossible. This is an unmissable idea. And this is not some positive psychology guru coming up with a cool phrase to sell some books. This is God speaking about humans. Broken humans.
Yeah.
Sinful humans. Humans that have no desire to honor his name. They're building their own name. And yet God says, look at them. They've caught something here. What have they caught? They've caught the idea of togetherness. One people. They've caught the idea of same language. Speaking the same ideas. Speaking the same vision and the dream. They've caught the idea of working together. And if they can come together with the same vision and speech and plan, they are unstoppable. They are unstoppable. And broken humans put men on the moon. I know we've got used to that idea. It still blows my mind. I look up on the full moon and I think people walked on that and got home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just we sent them there and they had to walk around. All right, boys, see you later. Okay. It's like they walked on it, got back in a spaceship, and got home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And broken humans did that. Some of those humans who did that were atheists. Didn't even believe in God. Maybe some of them got their worldview changed when they saw the universe from a different perspective. We hope so. But there's no guarantee of that. But broken people put men on the moon. Why? Because they engaged in the ideas that God has put within our DNA. They became one people at NASA. They spoke one language. They worked to one plan. And they did the impossible. Without the Holy Spirit. Without Jesus as Lord. Without seeing God's dream. You with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if broken humans can do that, without Jesus,
That's true.
what can we do? Be serious. Yeah, but Pastor Beasley, yeah, but Jesus is still Lord.
Yeah.
Well, things are going to change. Absolutely. But God's still with you.
Yes.
He's still with us. There'll be challenges that will come. Of course it will. It won't be the same. Of course it won't.
Yeah.
You can't change and be the same. When Dave steps down as pastor and Sam takes over, it won't be the same. True. And that's only a problem if you want it to be. But if you say, it's a change, it's different. For some of you, not as comfortable with that as I'd like to be. Others, maybe you're excited about it. It doesn't matter where you are on the scale. If you say, it's just a change, but the dream of landing on the moon is still the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can do it. And listen, for some of you this is going to be worse than others. But don't let the devil make mayhem out of something that God wants you to celebrate. Don't give him the fuel. Don't give him the oxygen. Don't allow the conversation to develop that will hurt the dream. But actually say, look, personnel has changed, but the purpose is still the same. Come on. Yes? It's still the same. Still the same.
Yeah.
Hopefully this year, Liverpool will win the Premier League. I've waited 30 years for that. I have children that have never seen Liverpool win the Premier League. My oldest daughter is 26. She'll be 27 when Liverpool win the Premier League. It's unbelievable. If you'd have told me in 1990 we wouldn't win the league again until 2020, I'd have thought you're close.
Football. Yeah.
But in that time, we've held on to the dream.
Yeah.
Hang on to the dream. Keep singing the songs. Keep wearing the shirt. Keep screaming at the TV. As I draw this to a close this weekend, I want to sort of finish where I started tonight with this idea. What do you see?
Telescope?
True. It's a telescope. That was a rhetorical question. I didn't want an answer. Brian, I love you, but sometimes you speak at the wrong minute. All right? Bless you, Brian. Yes, it is a telescope. Thank you. But it says there, it says, turn to clear vision. And sometimes we have to position ourselves where we can see. Sometimes we have to do something to see more clearly. And I would say this with confidence. The Holy Spirit would say to you, I believe this. If you want to see, you will see. But sometimes to see, we've got to position ourselves. Sometimes we've got to climb a ladder.
Yeah.
Wonder what's over the wall. Somebody put a ladder beside it. Let me have a look.
Yeah.
It's just a ladder, and it changed it. We look down this, and we have to turn something, or even sometimes put some money in it. Literally, some of those things you put a coin in, and suddenly it opens. Because you put the coin in, because you made the investment, because you twisted a knob. Wow. Sauce. Now, I can say this with absolute confidence as I close. Wherever you are sitting, whatever you are experiencing, wherever you are, God has a dream that is bigger for all of us. And if we will say to Him, Lord, what do you see? Not just for me as an individual. Feel free to do that. But if you will say, Lord, what do you see for Living Waters? The leadership are doing that. That's their heart. But when the leaders stand at the top of the ladder and look over the wall and say, my goodness, you need to say, what is it to see? You need to say, get down off that ladder and let me on it and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have a heart like that, honestly, I believe, genuinely, it can change it. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee. And so as I pray in just a moment, I want to pray a really simple prayer. Lord, open up our hearts with hunger and desire to see what you see. If we will have the courage to make that our prayer, then maybe, just maybe, God will show us a glimpse of something over the wall that can not only change you as an individual, and change us as a Christian community, but dare I say, even change our God. Amen. Would you like to stand with me if you can? If you can't stand, please remain seated. You've been so wonderful over the weekend, so kind to me, humouring me in my stories of Liverpool. And I'm so grateful. And I do hope my brother gets baptized.
Yeah.
Come on now, for a few wee moments, we're going to finish in a couple of minutes with a beautiful song. Before we do that, the Lord said a lot of things to you this weekend. And you've made notes. You'll need to process some of that stuff.
Yes.
But as we're about to leave together, it's this one idea I want you to live with. He sees things. He sees for you a world beyond. He sees for this church a world over the wall. And he desperately, desperately wants this church to say, Father, what did you see? He desperately wants audacious and courageous people, whatever their age, to say to him, let me get up that ladder so that I can see things. And if enough of us in this room, and I know there are people missing, but if enough of us in this room make that the cry out, we can see something together which can change everything. And so, Lord, I pray for this beautiful church, a church that I love, a church that I feel like it's part of my home, people that I have come over the last 10 years to know, to become friends with, Dave and June, who, Lord, I don't just feel a serve, but I feel are my friends.
Yes, God.
Sam and Beth, that, Lord, we've had the joy of seeing them grow develop. And for people in this room who we've laughed with and cried with and talked with, even Brian, who interrupts my service. Lord, I'm so grateful. I love you. I love this church. And Lord, this wonderful church is at a crucial moment. A moment where a loved leader is stepping back from a role that he and you have carried for many years.
Yes.
Almost a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
And Lord, it's a crucial moment for Sam and Beth as they step forward into your purpose. We ask, O Lord, that you will protect this transition. We ask, Holy Spirit, that you will guard hearts.
Yes, Lord.
We ask, Holy Spirit, that you will strengthen hearts. We ask, Holy Spirit, that the angel of the Lord will encamp around this place. That no weapon formed against this place will prosper.
Amen.
That every lie and scheme of the enemy will be broken and blunted. That every fiery dart of Satan will hit a wall of faith
Yes, Lord.
and be extinguished by the faith of this community.
Yes, Lord. Yes.
Holy Spirit, we pray that you will guard the work that you have begun and that you will bring this work to completion.
Yes.
That, Holy Spirit, you will take the promises you have made and you will bring them to fulfillment.
Yes, Lord.
And so, Lord, we have confidence that your word is flawless.
Yes, Lord.
The word of the Lord is perfect, restoring the soul,
Yes.
making complete that which you have promised. We put our confidence and our trust in you, O God, because we believe that what you have started, you will complete.
Yes, Lord.
So, Lord, now I pray for us all
Yes.
that there will come a hunger and a humility within us that will say, Father, what do you see? What do you see? That image of that young man peering over a wall that divided a generation will inspire every one of us from this moment on. We will, on our knees, on our own, or in our small groups together, we will say, Father, what do you see? And that an audacity will rise up within us to say, Father, let me climb that ladder to see for myself.
Yes.
Holy Spirit, I pray that
Yes.
out of that scene will come togetherness. Out of that scene will be released unity. Out of that scene will come productivity. And because of that scene, we will experience impossible. Holy Spirit, seal your word and your purpose on our lives, so that your name will be glorified, so that your kingdom will come, and so that your will be